Greetings, greetings, greetings. Good rising. I'm going to check in with the participants. Unable to hear anything. Okay, there should be a telephone icon. Okay, I was playing some great music earlier and they couldn't hear. Misty and Roots, if anybody is asking. The band that was playing is called Misty and Roots. Whoops. Let's see if they can hear me now. Can you hear me now? Empress Daisy and Melanie Ayapingi. I don't want to start until I know you can hear me. I'll play the music again. I usually wait a few minutes to let people join the meeting. Sometimes you have to log in onto the computer and listen on your phone. Is that what you're doing now?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I've tried to resolve the situation. I've called technical support and stuff, but they don't really have other solution. So, okay. Well, I'm glad you can hear me now and can see the slideshow. That's awesome. And I really appreciate you all taking the time to be here today. Turn off the music now. Yeah, I was playing Misty and Roots, one of my favorite reggae roots bands. The album is called Wise and Foolish. So I'll post it later on the group. You can listen to it. It's a fabulous album. And so right now the line is open. If you have any questions at any time, you can just stop me. And if I don't hear you, you could, pop something in the chat room. And then I also have the KemeTones Rec App study group page open if we need to go there. And that's it for now. If I hear like too much feedback or something in the background, I'll mute you, and then you can unmute yourself, stuff like that. Okay. So here we are at the KemeTones Self-Care Webinar Series, and we're dealing with using sound to eliminate obstacles and open the way to our freedom. And this little image here is inspired by a poem by Maya Angelou and James, I'm going to get his name, James Weldon Johnson, I think that's his name. I'm going to recite the poems now. Anyway, about the caged bird. And so this is a series on healing post-traumatic slave syndrome with sound, with KemeTones. So there's a little animated GIF. All right, I know it was there somewhere. So this session, in order to call in the ancestors, invoke the ancestors, I'm going to read some of their poetry. It was Paul Laurence Dunbar, excuse me. I should know that. When I was in elementary school, we put on musicals at the Paul Laurence Dunbar High School auditorium. So I can't believe I got his name mixed up with my grandfather's last name. But anyway, Paul Laurence Dunbar is from Chicago. And so this is the poem that Maya Angelou was inspired by when she wrote her poem, and then she named her autobiography after a line in this poem. I know what the caged bird feels. Let me put on my glasses. I know what the caged bird feels, alas, when the sun is bright on the upland slopes, when the wind stirs soft through the springing grass, and the river flows like a stream of glass, when the first bird sings and the first bud opes, and the faint perfume from its chalice steals, I know what the caged bird feels. I know why the caged bird beats its wing till its blood is red on the cruel bars, where he must fly back to his perch and cling, when he fain would be on the bow a swing, and the pain still throbs in the old scars, and they pulse again with a keener sting. I know why he beats his wing. I know why the caged bird sings, ah me, when his wing is bruised and his bosom sore, when he beats his bars and he would be free. It is not a carol of joy or glee, but a prayer that he sends from his heart's deep core, but a plea that upward to heaven he flings. I know why the caged bird sings.
It's all good. Work me, Sissy. Sissy, that was not.
Okay. And now I have here some music that I was playing last week. I was playing different music this week. But anyway, this is the Caged Bird poem by Maya Angelou. A free bird leaps on the back of the wind and floats downstream till the current ends, and dips his wing in the orange sun rays and dares to claim the sky. But a bird that stalks down his narrow cage can seldom see through his bars of rage. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom. The free bird thinks of another breeze, and the trade wind soft through the sighing trees, and the fat worms waiting on a dawn-bright lawn, and he names the sky his own. But a caged bird stands on the grave of dreams. His shadow shouts on the nightmare scream. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom. And this is Maya Angelou, Caged Bird from Shaker, Why Don't You Sing? Copyright 1983 by Maya Angelou, used by permission of Random House, etc., etc. From the complete collected poems of Maya Angelou. And I forgot to post this music I played last week at the group page. So I'll make sure I post all 3 links to this fabulous music next week, or this week. So those poems told us a little bit about why the caged bird sings, what the caged bird feels, why the caged bird does that, but what does the caged bird sing in order to be free? What do we need to do to be free? That is what I want to know. So we've put together this program on post-traumatic slave syndrome and healing with sound to see what we can come up with. It's kind of an experiment. And I have to say, since I've been working on myself, lots of things have been happening. So we're talking about KemeTones, cosmic sound healing, which is a sound healing technique that uses tuning forks that are tuned to the different planetary frequencies. And it's similar to acupuncture, only we use sound instead of needles. Since each tuning fork is tuned to a planet, it's also tuned to a different cosmic force or ancestor or Neteru or Orisha, such as Aset, Nebuchadnezzar, Yemaya, Asar. So KemeTones is a little different from any other sound healing technique right now because we take the culture back beyond Greece to Kemet and Africa and other indigenous cultures and archetypes. Since each ancestor represents a different cosmic force, such as Ma'at represents truth, Asar represents transformation, regeneration, Kepra, transformation, Ra, creativity, etc. Then when you get a KemeTones treatment, you're getting a cosmic sound healing because we're awakening the cosmic forces that live within all of us. And in many people, they're dormant. So we use as a guide the work of Dr. Joy deGruy, who came up with the term post-traumatic slave syndrome. And in her study guide, she has 10 steps to healing. She calls them the 10 Sankofa steps. So the idea behind this series is we're going to go through each step and then see what the KemeTones application will be. And at the end, we have a guided meditation. Sankofa step number 2 is know yourself, your history and personal legacy. It's okay to go back and fetch, or go back to the past and fetch and learn from it. So it's about not being ashamed of our past, not being ashamed that our ancestors went through slavery and Reconstruction and lynching and all that, to not hide it. You know, we need to know it and be proud of it and tell our stories and tell our history. And the more that we tell our stories, the better we get to know ourselves. So it's a mutually beneficial cycle. Now, every KemeTones treatment session or class, workshop, webinar, every KemeTones session begins with an horoscope analysis, either of the individual being treated or for the day. And knowing your horoscope or knowing the horoscope for the day is a wonderful way to learn more about yourself. You can learn what's going on in the universe and how things going on in your life are in alignment with what's going on. You know, as above, so below, thereby gaining better understanding of yourself. If you understand what's going on in the cosmos, you can have better understanding of yourself. And if you can understand what's going on in your own life, then you can understand what's going on in the environment around you. Horoscopes is a 13-month astrology system that's based on the actual motion of the sun and the planets across the constellations. The Western astrology system that we're familiar with is man-made. It's based on an illusion. It's based on a fantasy where they took the orbit of the Earth around the sun and divided it into 12 equal sections, but it's not based on the motion of the sun through the constellations. It's just based on the orbit around the sun, and then they named each segment or each cone or each slice of the pie after a constellation, but it has nothing to do with the actual constellation. The astrology system that we're familiar with was fixed in time 4,000 years ago by the Babylonians, and it does not include the 13th constellation on the ecliptic called Ophiuchus. At horoscopes, we refer to Ophiuchus as Imhotep because Ophiuchus is the only constellation that tells a story or reflects the life of an actual human being. All the other constellations are based on myths or gods and goddesses or legends from very, 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 very ancient times. Only Ophiuchus is based on the life of Imhotep. And if you're interested in getting your own horoscope, you can download the free ebook and do your own horoscope work, your own astrology work, or you can contact me and I can do your chart or reading, or you can arrange for all three, which includes a consultation, or you can also get that combined with a KemeTones sound healing session.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so here is the chart for last week when we got together, and you can see how last week all the planets were in like watery signs or fiery signs or air. There was no earth. There was no grounding. We had three planets in Pisces. We had one in Aquarius. And then we had the moon was in Gemini, which is duality. So it was a very emotional week, no grounding at all. After I do these readings, then when things happen in my life, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I was talking about on the webinar. So the one for today is a little different because the sun moved into Aries. We have Ra, Tamit Amun. So that has to do with direction and clear path and taking action, the force in our lives. And then the moon has moved into Virgo, or Shasheta Aspolia. And Virgo is the sign of the goddess on the Western astrology system, the divine mother. And horoscopes, it represents the seed. It represents planting something in the garden of your life. It represents a new undertaking. So these are some of the things that have shifted. And it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, in our lives. Because last week was very emotional. I had a lot of challenges going on. We have Haru. Uranus is also in Pisces. Haru is the redeemer, the rebel, taking actions. And that's exactly the situation I was in last week. And it was highly emotional. And I just really remembered what we talked about in the session. So I'm looking forward to see what comes up tonight. When I do these healing sessions, I don't have anything, I don't really know how it's going to go. I know what the chart is, and I know what the Sankofa step is, and I know what we're supposed to do for Sankofa step number 2. But as far as what tones I use or what chants or anything, all that is left up to the moment. So it's, it's really spontaneous, creative healing session. So anything else? Well, over here we have in Ophiuchus or Imhotep, we still have Rephan or Saturn and Mars or Set, and they're still in this sign of the healer. And that means that we're, breaking any boundaries or any limitations that may have been holding us back from our healing or from becoming the healers we're meant to be. Set, that means that we've purified our personality and we're completely devoted to this healing journey. Maybe the journey has to do with, continuing to battle our ego in some ways, but I see this as a sign that we're totally committed to our path of healing and being healers. And this whole series is about healing from post-traumatic slave syndrome in our lives. Once we get things going in our lives, then we can help others in our families, our communities, the nation, and the entire planet. Because it's not just us that are feeling these cosmic energies with the sun just moved into Aries. And again, this is sidereal astrology. This isn't, what you're going to hear if you look up your chart in the newspapers. I mean, this has to do more with your spirit and your destiny and your purpose. So let's see what we have what's coming up for us next. So yeah, so at this time, I'm going to sing some chants, some Kemetic chants, to awaken the cosmic force in our healing time together. What's doing with the clock here? Doing all right? Okay. So like I said before, Ra has moved into the sign of Aries, or Tammuz Amun. Sun is in Aries. And Shasheta is in the sign of Virgo. So I'm going to turn the camera so you can watch offering. And if you know the chant, you go ahead and sing along. It's okay if you want to. And if interested in the chant, greetings. I have a CD out now that has most of the Kemetic chants that I've, that have come through me, or ones that I've learned from some of my teachers. And so right now we're going to focus on our creative energies being used to, illuminate a clear and direct path, and to, give us courage to fight the battles, because we have to create this energy ourselves. It's not like someone's going to give it to us. So we have to really tune into our solar plexus chakra. That's the one right here where my Ankh necklace is. And so that's the one that rules the sign of Aries, or Tammuz Amun. I'm going to sing a chant for Ra and then one for Amun. And I have a sistrum in one hand and some finger cymbals in the other hand. And I'm going to patent this technique for playing them together. It's like something cool I came up with. Duwada, 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 kefara. Duwada, 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 kefara. And it's a call and response. So even if you don't know the chant, you could just repeat after me. Just try to dance. Duwada, 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 kefara. Duwada, 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 kefara.
Duwada, 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 kefara.
Beautiful. Duwada, 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 kefara.
Duwada, 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 kefara.
Duwada, 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 kefara. All right. Okay, now I'm going to do another one for the Amun energy, and it invokes Ra and Ptah and Amun. Amun is the witnessing consciousness, Ra is the mind or the creative force, and Ptah is the physical universe. Well, first of all, let me translate the one we just did. That's adorations to Ra, adorations to Ra, adorations to Ra in the form of the creator. And now this one is Om. Om Amun Ra Ptah. Om Amun Ra Ptah.
Do you have any of her CDs? Oh, okay, I gotta get her CDs.
Om Amun Ra Ptah. Om Amun Ra Ptah.
World music.
Yeah, at the end I'll have the link where you can go download the chant. I should have typed them up for you in the chat room. Let's see here.
Chat room time.
Let's see. Om Amun Ra Ptah. The other one was Duwada. Duara, duara. Yeah, okay. And then I'm going to do one more. Oh, and I had some artwork too, duh. There's the one for Ra.
Oh, that's what she was saying.
Yeah, Ra, sorry. And here's one for Haru. I'm going to sing his chant later. They both have the hawk thing going on. And I did Haru last week, the goddess associated with beauty and love. And now we're going to do one for Shasheta. Shasheta is the one that's associated with the moon. She's the goddess of learning, constructions, and letters. Associated with Renenet, the goddess of the seven, presides over the teachings relating to the seven realms of creation and the chakras. And in my world, Shasheta is also the one in charge of writing and accounting, bookkeeping, filing, libraries, spells, prayers. She's the one that keeps up with my organization. So I just call on Shasheta quite a bit when I need help in my office. So I'm going to write the words down in the chat room for her chant. And it's very easy. Dua Shasheta, and then Nukpu Shasheta. When you say Dua, you're saying adorations or thank you. You know, when you're greeting someone, you could say Dua, you know, and you put your hands in the Dua posture. And then Nukpu means I am. So in the first line, we're saying adorations to Goddess Shasheta, and the second one, we're saying I am Shasheta, because the cosmic energy of Shasheta is within all of us as we go about our lives, you know, trying to become more efficient and organized and, you know, building things. The moon is associated with the personality, so I like to say we're building a stronger personality, one that can withstand adversity and can battle set our ego. Shasheta is known for defeating Apep. Apep is chaos and confusion. Okay? So I put the words up there. So it's call and response. If you so, you know, want to chant after me or with me, it's more of a song more than a, you know, chant song as an instrument. Dua Shasheta, Dua Shasheta, Dua Shasheta, Dua Shasheta, Dua, 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 Dua Shasheta, Dua, 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 Dua Shasheta, Nuku Shasheta, Nuku Shasheta, Nuku Shasheta, Nuku Shasheta, Nuku, 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 Nuku Shasheta, Nuku, 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 So we're invoking Shasheta's guidance as we are taking this healing journey, and we're planting seeds of healing and learning more about this healing protocol, and we want to see it grow in our garden of life. We want to see it blossom, and we want to see more and more people coming in, tuning into these webinars and checking the replays and learning how to do this healing protocol on ourselves. We can, if you don't have the tuning fork, you can use acupressure. You can just put your hands on the point. You can just put crystals or stones or essential oils. You know, the main thing is just to become more aware of the points and the meridians as they flow through the body and how they apply to different areas of stress and the Sankofa steps. So, you know, of course, if you have the tuning fork, that's even better. But these things can be used in just your self-care regimen. All right. So there's our invocation to Shasheta and the sign of Asfolia. And now we're going to go over the Sankofa step for this evening. The 10 Sankofa steps towards healing from post-traumatic slave syndrome. And this is from, these Sankofa steps are taken from page 41 of Dr. deGruy's workbook. So right now we're talking about the KemeTones self-care applications. And as you can see there on the image there, we have the tuning fork for Ra on the right, the solar fork, and the tuning fork for Asar on the left for Pluto for regeneration, transformation, etc. Coming back from the dead, that kind of thing. Sankofa, which means return and get it. In it, there is an examination of the historical origins of the trauma. Healing of African Americans through storytelling and knowledge of family history. And I thought I fixed this slide last week, but apparently it's not fixed. Let me see if I can fix it. Additionally, we can get the rest of the info from Dr. Joy. This is all quotes from her book. Here we go. And what? Oh, okay, there we go.
Oh.
Additionally, the need for a critical evaluation of family traditions, beliefs, and behaviors. So these are some of the things that we can address with sound healing, because a lot of people are so traumatized that we're not able to tell our story. So when we release that block, people will be able to tell their stories. And then when it's time to evaluate our family traditions, beliefs, and behaviors, some of these very things are the things that are killing us, like our diet that we inherited from slavery times and the dominant religious practice of our people, Christianity and other religions that came about during slavery times. They're not really dealing with freedom. They're a response to slavery, or just the very nature of them is spiritual enslavement. So some of these things need to be let go of, and KemeTones can support people going through these major changes, and also can help us remove the block in our lives that's there from trauma. We may have gone through trauma in our own lives. For instance, in my case, I experienced heavy trauma 30 years ago, and it took me 30 years to speak about it. And then once I started speaking about it, my rate of healing skyrocketed. I've been in the same space for 30 years, reliving the trauma every morning and not knowing that that's what it was. And so if that could happen to me for 30 years, imagine what's happening to us for generation after generation after generation of not dealing with this experience. The trauma is still in our systems. It's in our DNA. It's in our blood. It's in our bones. It's in our family history. It's in our family traditions, beliefs, and behavior. So that is why I got this idea to come up with KemeTones applications to PTSS. Again, if you have any questions, the lines are open. I check every now and then. I don't see anything in the chat room, so I'm just going to keep, switching back and forth until I, have any specific questions. Okay. So again, we're on Sankofa step number 2. It's okay to go back to the past and learn from it. Know yourself. Know your story. Know your personal legacy. Have the courage to tell your story. Have the courage to share your story. Have the courage to share your story through art, through music, through dance, through writing, through movies, through storytelling, through music videos, so that more people can know your story and also develop the courage to tell their story. Even just the story of your own life could help save the life of another. And telling the story of your ancestors can help our ancestors move on, because no one's been able to tell their stories either. I'm really fortunate. I have some photographs that go back like 100, 150 years. And so you can tell a lot just by looking at these photographs. And someday I hope to put together more information on the stories of my ancestors, my recent ancestors. I'm very fortunate that I know my Native American tribe affiliation as well. So, you know, it's okay to reclaim that portion of our history. Some people are ashamed of their Native American heritage, and I don't know why. I don't know why. All right, so these are some of the Neteru that were associated with the reading from last week. Let me see if I can quickly, she's the only one who dealt with, we're still dealing with Jehuti because of the spolia. And what was the other one? Oh, Tammuz Amun. So that would be Seth. Okay. So yeah, that's just one little minor change, right? Ra. Yeah. Okay. So when we say Dura Neteru and Nupu Neteru, Nupu Neteru means I am the divine. So when we do our chanting, like we did Dua Ra, we're saying adorations to Ra, and we're also acknowledging that divine within ourselves. Jehuti, Set, Heru, these are some of the tuning forks we're going to be working with during our little mini session. I already sang some of the songs. Let me see. I think I'm going to sing one more song right now. It's new. I don't know it quite as well, but I'd really like to invoke the force of Heru. That's the little child sitting on Aset's lap here. Most people would just look at this and say, oh, they have a statue of a woman breastfeeding her son. But actually this represents her sharing her wisdom with the next generation or with her students. She's passing knowledge through her, just through the excretions from her body, you know, but that's what this symbolizes, just passing knowledge and wisdom. It's pouring forth. For instance, the Milky Way, you know, the Mother Divine is giving us her milk. So let's see what's the next slide here. Okay, let's go back to the image of Heru. Okay. And I don't have the words up here, but listen. And I'm going to mute your line because it's got a little feedback. Okay. And then if you need to talk again, just let me know in the chat room. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, unmuted in the chat room. Yeah.
Okay.
Like read you after this. Oh.
Didn't do
Oh.
There we go. Okay. All right. A tap. Yes, I apologize. I kind of drew a blank there at the end, but it's a beautiful song for Heru, invoking the energy of the divine. Okay, now I will unmute you again. Click to unmute. Okay. Nope. Mute. There we go. Okay. All right. Now we're going to move to the Sankofa steps, the KemeTones application. So I'm going to move to the other portion of the studio, which is just the other side of the desk, and prepare for the healing session. And like I said, even if you don't have the tuning forks, you can take note of where I'm placing the tuning forks, and you can practice acupressure or work with crystals or Reiki or Rock Reiki, Kemetic Reiki. So for KemeTones Step 2, we're dealing with Jehuti and Ra, which has to do with the first eye, the pineal gland, the heart, and the root chakra, being able to express ourselves, being able to communicate. The moon is in the sign of Virgo, which is ruled by Jehuti, so everything is just kind of lining up. And then Ra is in the sign of Aries. So I'm going to switch back to the camera now. Oh, okay, let me go over this slide first too. Okay, yeah, so this is ways to get acquainted with yourself, because the idea for Sankofa step number 2 is to know yourself, know thyself. So here's some ways to get acquainted with yourself. Journaling, spending time in nature, meditation, consistent meditation, not just, scattered here and there, 5 minutes, like, 20, 30-minute meditation, hour meditation, sharing your story with others, art projects and music, expressing yourself, expressing your experience through your art, through your creativity. A really good way to get to know yourself is to ask yourself questions. When you are journaling, one of my coaches, Tara Maxwell, taught me to, first of all, you find out where the blocks are, find out what's not working in your life, and then you ask yourself questions like, what do you need to do about it, or why is this happening for me, or even, what color ink should I use on my flyers? You ask yourself all of these questions, and you use muscle testing or pendulum reading. That's the next item on the list to determine the answer. If you're not comfortable trusting, the messages that come to you right away, then you start working with the pendulum or muscle testing. Ask yourself, should I catch the plane at 7 o'clock in the evening or wait till the flight at 9 o'clock the next morning? Do a muscle test. So after you've asked yourself a whole lot of questions and you've gotten some answers from yourself, then you write a letter to your ancestors and your guardians, benevolent ancestors. Always be specific about benevolent ancestors, because we might have some ancestors that have a lot of negative energy that might want to do harm to our lineage. So you always communicate with benevolent ancestors. And what you do in the next step is you give thanks for the things as if they already happened. Like the example I asked about the plane, you would say, I'm so grateful that I caught the 9 o'clock flight and, arrived safe and sound. Or I'm so grateful that I opened up my flow and now, I have income coming to me. Or I'm so grateful that I started doing this ancestral work and I've gotten more in tune with my ancestors, and now I have a better idea of, what kind of healing work I need to do to heal my bloodline. So then you give you ask yourself these questions, you write down the answers, and you give thanks for them as if it already happened. And that is the technique I've been working with a lot recently. And if you've been keeping up with my social media or my newsletters, some amazing things have been manifesting. And I would have to say, since I started working consistently with this post-traumatic slave syndrome, like changing the energy in my life now so that I can work on, my children and getting things ready for their children, and also healing my ancestors. But right now, I'm applying this to myself. I'm being selfish, I guess some people would say. All right, so now we're going to, be mindful of the clock. Okay. Yeah, okay. So now we're going to transition to the self-care with the tuning fork. And like I mentioned earlier, we're going to be focusing with the planetary energies for today, but the root chakra, the heart chakra, the first eye, and the pineal gland. That's the first step. Well, that's the first aspect of Sankofa step number 2 we're working on, knowing yourself. And when you come for a KemeTones treatment, I usually start with what's called the 3 treasures, because that is the ones where you know your purpose. You learn more about your purpose, and you get your desires and your heart chakra in alignment with your first eye, with your thoughts, and your pineal gland for manifesting. And last week, since there was no earth energy, I did the root chakra instead of the creativity chakra. But this week, since we've got a lot more grounding, I'm going to go ahead and do the 3 treasures, which is the creativity chakra, the heart chakra, and the first eye. And I'm adjust the camera. So you always start with the forks. These are the Geb forks. They're the sound of the planet, the Earth going around the sun in 1 year. And usually start on the feet. It's kind of hard for you to see on the camera, but I'm starting on my feet. And I don't know what Google is trying to take over my life here. Okay. So I'm starting on my feet. That's for grounding. Like I say, you can't really see it too well, but you always start on the feet for grounding, either on the ankle bones or on the bottom of the feet. The gushing spring, it's a point on the ball of the foot. And somebody have to remind me to post the charts. I should write it down, but I don't see a pen. Okay, I'll get there. All right, and then the next thing we do is it's like 4 finger width below the belly button. So usually you ask the patient where the belly button is, and then you start down here. This is the creativity chakra, and this is also the kidney point, and this is where all of our memories are stored and our DNA codes. They call it the celestial blueprint. Our purpose, our destiny is all stored right here. And then for women, I usually like to go over and tune off the uterus. Then the heart chakra. Like I say, you could do this with your fingers, with crystals, with magnets, with essential oils, with rock Reiki, or just intention, visualizing the light force energy moving up. If you haven't heard me say it before, when we're moving up, we are dissolution. If we move up, it's dissolution, removing blocks, eliminating toxins. When you go up, you go in a counterclockwise direction, spiraling. And then when you're coming down, it's the direction of creation and manifestation, and you spiral in a clockwise direction. But that was in session number 1 or 2. Okay, so the next thing you do is you want to draw the energy from that creativity chakra up to the up to the heart, to connect your purpose with your desire. That's the idea. You want to make sure that they're connected. So you don't want to do things that are out of alignment with your purpose. You only want to do things that are in alignment with your purpose. So that's why we do this type of treatment. So that's for grounding. And then the next step we do is to open up and put things in order. Open up and remove blocks and toxins. Okay? So we use Anpu with a zodiac fork for removing blocks and toxins. And KemeTones, the Neptune fork, is associated with Nebuchadnezzar and their mother and son. And Nebuchadnezzar is the goddess and sister to Lady Set. And I've talked about her in length before, so yeah, just have to watch some of the other videos or take one of the classes. So for the 3 treasures, you start on the creativity chakra, the heart chakra, and the first eye. So you put them both together on the creativity chakra to remove toxins and to help put things in order, to reestablish the flow. Nebuchadnezzar is symbolized by a vessel of water, a container of water. And we have the heart chakra. We want to make sure our desires are purified and in divine right order. And you can just hold the fork over the pot, over the spot too. And then the first eye, that always feels really cool. See that? And the pineal gland, that's the spot in the back. Now we're going to remove any blocks we have to connecting our purpose to our desires. Any blocks we have connecting our desires to our thoughts. And make sure they're purified and in divine order. And then we want to connect the purpose with our thoughts. And all that, and then bring it up. And connect to the pineal. Oh wait, that's not going to work. Let's try it this way. There we go. That feels really good. All right. So then also we talked about Shasheta and Asfolia and Ra in Tamit Amun. So we're going to do those first next week. Still, I can remain mindful of the time. Okay. All right. So let's see what I want to do. Well, let's see what some of the other steps are for Sankofa steps. That was we had a class in January in Jamaica where we started developing protocols for this treatment. So let's go check in with some of the meridians and extraordinary vessels. I'm going to go pull up that webpage, and I'll be right back. And that page is right here. We can heal post-traumatic slave syndrome with KemeTones. I have a whole webpage devoted to this subject. And anytime you're out about with in your daily life and you come across someone who is really obviously traumatized from slavery, you can pull out your smartphone and all the protocols will be on this page. That's why I did it. So it was really selfish for my own convenience. It's kind of a joke, you're out and about and you see someone having post-traumatic slave syndrome and you pull out your smartphone and you apply the tuning forks right on the spot, I actually gave someone a tune-up on an airplane once. That was pretty cool. Okay, so here we have this video that talks about how this woman who was crowned the crowned the queen of Carnival for the big TV station, and then they took away her crown and gave it to a lighter-skinned woman, and it just talks about how the people in Brazil are dealing with the same issue. And then here are the meridian charts for dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder. Let's see if I can get this bigger. Not really. Okay. Post-traumatic stress disorder. So these are the meridians, and if there's a symptom of a pain, illness, or disease, then that means there's a block in the flow of energy. And these are the meridians that are associated with these blocks. So this one deals with the heart meridian and the governor vessel meridian, and this has to do when there's a block in the flow of energy. And I get these mixed up. I think this is the one that's freeze, fight, and flee. And this is the one of flee, where you disassociate from what's going on, like you just tune out. You just tune out. You just put it out of your mind, right? And then we have here's one that shows how you can put the tuning forks right on the ear and give the entire body a treatment, entire body treatment. Oh, here's the logo. I'm sorry about that. Okay, and then here's the one. Oh, wait a minute. These buttons are so funny. This one is the fight response, where you're so angry, your first reaction is to fight. So that would be a block in the gallbladder meridian and the liver meridian. And then the third choice we have are the freeze, when rage and terror are always present, like every day you wake up and you feel like you're still being traumatized, you're still on the oxygen block, you're still being assaulted or violated. And that one has to do, again, with the water, because it has the kidney meridian and the bladder meridian. So I don't remember which one we did last week. I think we did one with the heart. So this time, yeah. No, we probably did this one, because let me just think for a minute. So we're dealing with set. Well, that would have to do with anger. So let's do that one. Anger. Oops, the button goes so fast. So this one is to help us deal with our anger, help us to, not be so volatile in our response, and to help us see new possibilities. And so that, this is good for me, because in the situation I've been going on, I did have an emotional response, and I wanted to see action immediately. And it did get me in a little bit more trouble, but in the end, it actually made things better, However, I could have, toned it down a little bit. So I could yell at an attorney from the city of Chicago, or hang up on him either. Okay, so right now we're going to work with Ra and Set. The Sun and Set. Sun, Ra, and Set. And Set has to do with our ego and the need to be right and the need to fight without thinking first. So we're opening up a way for us to see different ways to respond. Like the Sun fork or Ra is also good for illumination. So like if we don't know the way, if we can't see the way, then this will help us see the way. Now this gallbladder meridian looks a little complicated from this diagram. I have another diagram. Let me see if I can make sense from this other diagram, because this one is kind of confusing me. And I'll probably just go with one that I know better. Oh, well, okay, it's not so bad. Nevertheless, I'm going to go with the liver, because I like simplicity. And I know liver is really associated with this. Okay? So I'm going to switch the camera back on. I'm going to switch the camera back on. There we go. Oh my gosh. There we go. Okay. No comments yet. All right. So we're going to deal with the liver meridian. And we're creating healthy responses to adversity. They say adversity is really prosperity, because adversity, when you take care of adversity, you're in prosperity. But when you're in prosperity, you're just attracting more adversity. Our ancestors are so funny like that. Gosh. Okay. So this is a chart of the liver meridian. I just used my handy Chinese acupuncture charts, and in previous sessions I've gone into great detail about anything dealing with traditional Chinese medicine or culture is actually African in origin. The first African dynasties were the Qing, the Shang. The Japanese dynasty was the Ainu, and these are people that are responsible for like pretty much everything in that culture, like Chinese medicine, the I Ching, Feng Shui, it goes on and on. So anytime you're using traditional Chinese medicine, you're using African culture and wisdom. All right. So I'm just going to move the tuning forks along the liver meridian. It goes from the toe up the inside of the leg, up the front of the body, and it ends right, right below right at the base of the rib cage. Okay. And you do it on both sides of the body. You do it on the left and the right side. And so I have, this is the wrong one. Here we go. Got to stop. Okay, so I have Ra and Set. Set in the Hindu culture is known by Muruga, and he's the spiritual warrior, the inner warrior, the one that gives you the, the support to stand up straight and face your battle. So I also call on Muruga's energy because Set, Set is actually while you're in the battle, and I like to focus on the results. I like to focus on when Set has purified his ego and he's at the helm of the boat of Ra. He's the one that is guiding the daily boat, not the one where he's like, cutting off people's hands and stuff like that. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to start at the wrong chart. Start at the baby toe and move up the chart. And I don't think you'll be able to see everything, but that's what I'm doing. There's the toe. Yeah, okay. And I have a piece of rubber on my leg. I'm not hitting my leg. And since we're not using needles, you don't have to be like totally precise. You just have to be in the general area and have the intention. The intention is really, the biggest part of this type of healing work. Is you're holding the intention, holding the space for healing to take place. That's why we're here. Just move up, just following the chart. And then moving right around the ribcage. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And, while you're doing the work, you just think about all the people that you're actually doing this work for. It's not just for you. It's for your family, your community, the nation. You just go bigger and bigger. Humanity. And then also you're going to be sharing what you've learned with your friends. And more people are going to start watching these webinar series. And it's just going to get bigger and bigger. And that's my vision. Yeah. Okay, so there I did that. And then also I'd like to work on the solar plexus chakra. That's where our willpower is stored. Our ability, our courage. And then also the throat chakra. Ability to tell our story, the courage to speak our truth, right? It's still buzzing. All right. Oh, that feels good. Yeah, I always feel something, really special. Okay, and then we're going to go back to the chart, the web page. Sit down for a moment on the camera. And then we get into the extraordinary vessels. So for step 2, we had Jehuti and Anpu, which we worked with a little bit. Open the gate, Solar 7th, access archaic records, and heavily residents. Okay, so let's do some of that first. We have Jehuti and Anpu. So this is Anpu again for opening the way, and Jehuti, where's that little camera? We can have it, yeah, we can have it while I'm in church. Yeah, cool. Okay, so opening the gate, Solar 7th, accessing archaic records, and Lung 7. Okay, so, I remember now. Okay, since this one required opening the gates, I did this instead of extraordinary vessels. I know this is probably too technical, but it's important. Okay, so I'm going to work with these two for opening the gates and the treasure house. They say that we have a lot of things stored here in these points. Abundance, health, wealth, prosperity, relationships, anything that you can feel it's close but you haven't accessed it yet, it might just be locked up here. Okay? So when we open the gate, you put one of the forks here, this wedge between your thumb and your first finger, And then on the alternate side of your body, you put it on the web in between your toes. Okay? So I'm going to, and when you're doing the self-care kit, you always have an ohm fork in one hand and a colored fork in the other, but today I'm going to do these together. So when you get your self-care kit, you won't do it like this exactly, but just look at where I'm putting it. Okay, so I'm going to put one here on my foot and one here on my hand. And this is how I do self-care with Accutonics and KemeTones. I just do the twister game. And this treatment is called Open the Gates, from one of our ancestors, Lao Tzu. When he was a great teacher, he came up with most of the Chinese medicine practices that we're still using today. When he was ready to make his transition, when he got to the gates, of heaven, they were like, no, you can't pass on until you've written down everything that you know. And so he wrote everything down, and then they said he could move on, but not until he had written everything down. Okay, so it's kind of hard to use that, so I'm going to go like this. I have a tabletop model for the rubber pad. I'll show you that in a second. It's like right now I can't reach my strap. I guess I could have moved it, but see, you can get a tabletop model for when you're doing self-care or demonstration. That one's good. All right, so here I opened the gate for more communication and telling my story and expressing myself. And this is also to honor Asfolia. Since I just said that, let me shift over to the full moon, and I'll use that to open the gates that are stored here. And those are these points right here. They're actually on the lung meridian. So I'm going to do that. I forgot to do that earlier. The lung meridian, where we store our grief. So anytime you're feeling like really sad, you can do some work right here on your lung meridian point. This is all with communication. So right here. Shasheta and Asfolia, that's like the womb right there. That's a divine mother. So I'll do a little bit of extra work on my womb area. You can just wave the forks and just hold them over the area like that. And then said Solar 7. Solar 7 to access the Akashic records so that we can maybe get more clear insight into some of the experiences our ancestors had or things that, we can do to assist them. So let's see. This is Solar 7. Solar 7 is the octave between the ohm fork and the solar fork, the 7th. So I'm going to put these on my first eye. Akashic records. Your gland, just that right where that curve is in the back of your head. The Europeans, when they first started investigating, I guess, life or whatever, they thought that the pineal gland was useless because on Europeans, on white people, it was so calcified that it was nothing. And it wasn't until they started experimenting on slaves and Africans and indigenous people with melanin that they saw that the pineal gland is like thriving. It looks like a pine cone, and that's why I got the name pineal gland. So you know, a lot of us, because we've adopted a lot of these habits from the Europeans, our pineal glands are calcified. So it's good to, you know, work on. Oh, and then I was going to switch to this one too. So we can receive the guidance and information from Jehuti. Yeah. No, I was like my favorite Martian. I was like, that's before y'all's time. Crazy TV show. All right. And then after we've gone through all those, then we do some high energy work in the energy field to manifest. And if you notice, most of the time when I was doing the weighted work, a lot of the work was going up to remove blocks and toxins. And then when I come into the energy field, it's about manifestation. So I use these, right? So here we're going to go back. Woo! There's a little too much action. I need to increase the picture so you can see better. There you go. I know Google password. I don't know my Google password. Okay. So I'm doing this to manifest, to open the way to manifest order in my home, in my body, in my environment, in my decisions. Remove obstacles and blocks to my success. Manifest. So I purified my desires, right? And I want to create and manifest, okay? And then also we had Saturn is in Hotep. So, you know, it's really good to manifest, use that energy. And yes, I am sitting in a copper pyramid. Can't see the whole thing, but that's what these bars are. And sometimes I bang into them. And then we have Ra and Tammuz Amun, or the sun is in Aries. Ooh, I like that. Area. And last, we'll use the Shisheta and Jehuti, or Anafolia. Goddess, invoking the goddess. Oh, yeah. Let's see what else I want to do today. Wow. These really cool bowls. I mean bells. They have this storage on the top, which is like energy. It's like attracting all the energy and putting it into the sound. So it's like really resonating. Yeah, I just sit here and play with all my sound healing instruments. We have some chimes here too. Let's see. Meditation. Oh, I'm zipping right along. Let's see. All right, so let's see if there's any questions. I don't see any questions or comments. Are there any questions or comments? Looks like I still have this one on mute. Okay.
Can you hear us?
I was just checking to see if anyone had any questions or comments before we move on to the next section.
I have a comment. I'm just really grateful for you. Happy that you're here today. And there's actually another sister who's here named Ro. So there's three of us sitting at the computer watching you.
Well, that's beautiful.
And we're coming to see you.
Okay. That sounds great. I'll be in Los Angeles the last weekend in May too, so I'll see you when I come down there.
Okay.
Yeah, Pato Bronson is having a spiritual family reunion or something like that, so I'm gonna be there.
Who?
Pato Bronson.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a reggae singer from back when I was younger, so you may not have even heard of him, but he's famous.
I know who that is. I know who that is.
I'll be posting. Cool. I'll be posting the information really soon. So.
Cool.
So let's see what's next.
We're soaking everything up. So we're still here.
Okay, good. Okay, I got a little bit more to go. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So back here. Okay, so that was a little sound healing session. So now I wanted to share with you something in the news. One of my dear sister friends, who's a very healthy eater, homeschooling mom, Kemetic yoga practitioner, et cetera, and she went to the doctor and they told her she had high blood pressure. And we're like, how could she have high blood pressure? She doesn't have any of the habits or the lifestyle of people who have high blood pressure. So my first reaction was, well, obviously it's energetic because, it's not something in her diet. It could be something left over from, like, the way she lived before she, is living consciously now. Or it could be something in her family. And then she said, oh, yes, everybody in my family has high blood pressure. Everybody gets it. And then I was like, oh, well, you said it right there. Even if you live up in the Himalayas, if you say everybody in your family gets high blood pressure, then, of course, it's going to show up on your test, even though there's no proof. So anyway, I did some research, and there's this article by Dr. Mercola, and it has been previously shown that people with heart disease can lower their risk of subsequent cardiac events by over 70% if they learn how to manage stress. This is Dr. Mercola speaking. I am clinically convinced that the vast majority of heart disease and cancer is foundationally related to unresolved emotional conflict. The study described above clearly seems to support this notion. Suppressed emotions such as anger, fear, and sadness that are not fully transformed will severely limit one's ability to cope with the normal stresses of life. It is not so much the stress that kills us, but our impaired ability to cope with it. Emotional and spiritual transformation are probably the keys to resolving this. Fortunately, the technology now exists to rapidly and effectively transform these emotions. And I'm here to say that we can do this with sound healing. With sound, we can use sound healing techniques and music and chanting to transform our ability to cope with normal stresses of life. Dr. Mercola says he does it every day in his office with EFT and other bioenergetic tools. Through extensive research, Dr. Mercola has found other tools that he uses in the area of stress management, and for him it was a CD that he has, a remarkably effective and efficient and affordable way to help you achieve inner peace and significantly reduce stress and anxiety. And it's a CD of guided meditation. And here's the article up. I didn't post it last week. I apologize. But I will post it in the group this week, next day or so. And, we have our own meditation practices and Kemetic and African techniques that are specifically designed for people with post-traumatic slave syndrome. So we don't have to get his CD and then translate it into our own system. We already have things in place. And then she was wondering if exercise, because she does exercise, she does yoga and stuff, but she thought maybe she needed to do more exercise. And here's another article from the Archives of Internal Medicine. People with heart disease can lower their risk of subsequent cardiac events by over 70% if they learn how to manage stress. Researchers at Duke University Medical Center say that patients with coronary vessel disease and ischemia who learned stress management had a lower risk of a future heart attack or of needing cardiac surgery than those who underwent exercise training or those who received standard cardiac rehabilitation care. So they're saying, yeah, exercise is great, but learning how to manage the stress is more important. And dealing with what we've inherited from slavery times, turning on the news, things going on in Ethiopia, the brother against brother went over there and killed 200 people and kidnapped 108 children, and then here in the United States, we have police brutality. In Ecuador, the African state of Esmeraldas had the earthquake and 2,000 people died. That's stress right there. And, what do? We have to figure out how to deal with the stress so that it doesn't cause a block in the flow of energy, which will lead to a symptom of illness, pain, or disease. So the Archive of Internal Medicine goes on to say, those people who underwent 4 months of stress management training had only a 9% incidence of cardiac events, defined as heart surgery, angioplasty, myocardial infarction, I think it should be heart attack, or death, compared to 30% of patients who received usual medical care. Of course, we need to get people to stop smoking, and I know they mean cigarettes, and reduce their cholesterol and blood pressure, the traditional risk factors. But what's also significant is the role that stress management has in people's lives and the value of reducing stress and positively influencing their subsequent health. Now, the young lady that I was speaking about, who has the so-called clean bill of lifestyle, yet has high blood pressure, she told me that before she became conscious, she was a chain smoker, cigarette smoker. So I'm like, well, there's obviously a tiny bit of whatever still in your energy field, and it's not a physical thing, it's an energetic thing. You got to go in there and use your mind and all of your healing wisdom to remove that energetic block. Because right now it's just an energetic signature. There's nothing in her lifestyle. She's been in a healthy path for, I think she said 5 or 6 years. So it's not something physical still in her system. And again, this just illustrates what I'm talking about with post-traumatic slave syndrome. It's not that we are still being on the option block, but it's that the memory of it is still in our systems. And we represent the generation that's going to deal with this on an energetic level. It's one thing to, have slavery be declared illegal. It's another thing to be granted the right to vote. It's another thing to be granted the right to sit on the bus, but we're still not free. And so I think that we have to take care of this on our own lives, in our own ways, energetically. And I'm just suggesting that we can use sound and chanting, sound healing and chanting and other practices to do this work. Now this is the Shaital Netter yoga practice from ancient Kemet. I no longer call it Kemetic yoga because another yoga teacher has copyrighted the term Kemetic yoga, and I don't ever want to use that term again. So I have this practice, a yoga practice from ancient Kemet called Shaital Netter, and it has 4 disciplines, 4 Shedi disciplines. Washu is devotion. Rek'ab is study of the wisdom teachings. Uwa is meditation, and Ma'at is right action. And after you go through these disciplines, these steps, you go out into the world and you do practice Ma'at. You have Ma'at action, right action. And the posture system, the Tef Neteru Sima Pout, is the movement of the gods and goddesses, because when you go through the posture system, you're recreating the process of creation that our ancestors did at the very beginning. And this is our yoga posture system. And ideally, you do the posture system first, and then the ritual, then study, then meditation, and then go out into the world. And that is one yoga practice. Another yoga practice is just strictly to do the Tef Neteru yoga postures, and that in itself is a spiritual practice. However, for it to be an effective spiritual practice, you have to include the mythical, the ritual, and the mystical practice. You can't just study the myth, or you can't just light candles and sing, and you can't just meditate. You have to have all 3. If you want more information, you can go to EgyptianYoga.com, and that's my teacher is Seva Ma and Seva Ja. They're a husband and wife team, and I've been studying with them for almost a decade now. And I also lead the prayer services on Sunday mornings. It's 5:30 a.m. Pacific time, and it's we go through the whole Shedi practice every Sunday morning and also every Thursday evening. And if you want more information on any of this, you can just contact me. And then also we have the KemeTones offerings, divine wellness offerings from KemeTones. I have developed healing protocols for a variety of issues specifically for our community, and also specifically caused by trauma such as rape or domestic violence, and also a healing protocol for post-traumatic slave syndrome. Nupu Neteru is to help you identify with the cosmic ancestors. Ma'at heart purification, post-traumatic slave syndrome, womb wellness and clearings. This next one is kind of a play on words, Uranus clearings. Since we have womb wellness clearings, that's only for women. Somebody was telling me that men have been raped and sodomized, and women have been sodomized as well. So I have something I call the Uranus clearings, but it's the Uranus clearings. Then we have the Aritu chakra alignment, ancestral clearings, sacred space, and also the devotional concert. These are all offerings from KemeTones. And they help, when you want to clear your chakras, or if you have a false sense of disconnect from nature and the divine within, because there's no separation. We have this illusion of separation, or the illusion that we're not at one with the divine. And then also I have the CD I was talking about earlier, the Kemetic Devotional Hekau, the chants and hymns and prayers. Blue Lotus Speaks Volume 1 on the opening. And if you visit tachia.bandcamp.com, you will be guided to the place where you can download a digital CD or individual songs, or I'll receive a notification and I will mail you a hard copy CD. You can listen to the songs for free the first 2 or 3 times, and then after that, you must make an offering for the download. And most of the chants that you hear during these webinars are on the CD. And then also I have my KemeTones healing packages for people that want to take things a little bit farther than just one healing session. I have the Awakening series, where we do a lot of chakra work. The Trinity series is, of course, 3 sessions. The Awakening series is 5 sessions. The Ascension series is 7 sessions. Each one we deal with a different chakra or a different netaru. And then also we have the ultimate combination packages of KemeTones and horoscope, where you get counseling and astrology readings and a lot more. And so those are also available. And if you're interested in working with me one-on-one or in a group, contact me. I'm also getting ready to launch my Open Your Money Flow, Open Your Flow, and that will also be a healing package, and that will be available very soon. And if you have any questions on any of this, just chat room, discussion group, email, telephone, 707-972-6831. And if there's no more questions, it's time for the meditation. So let me just check in with the chat room one more time to see if there's no more chat. So yeah, so we will move into the meditation. And I don't know if you saw, let me just get the camera up really quickly. If you saw me when I brought it over here, I have been presented, it wasn't a gift, don't get excited, but with a crystal pyramid. And I use it a lot, in healing sessions. Oh, the Dua posture, yeah. Okay, thank you, forgot that. The Dua posture is, let me see the picture. When you're making offerings to the divine at your altar, or just greeting someone, like if I just saw you on the street, I'd say, Dua, Empress. You just have your hands facing outwards towards the image of the divine. And since we recognize the divine in everyone, we greet everyone with adoration to the divine. Now, if you look at Raseki, he calls this the Dua posture. And it's similar, but they go like this, Dua. And so I do that as well. Like when I'm working with the Ankh energy, I go, like that. So I think in the Shikha temple, it's Dua, and then Raseki temple, it's Dua with a T. The T and the D are so similar, so it's either Dua, or you can just say Dua. But that was a very good question. Thank you. I meant to demonstrate that earlier. Dua. The first time I went to a Kemetic retreat, I had only read about the Dua posture, and I had never seen it demonstrated, so I really had no idea what they meant. And so the guy that picked me up from the airport and dropped me off to where I was staying the first night before the retreat, when it was time to go, he went like this, right? And I just gave him 2 high fives, like, hey, like that. Yeah. Okay, great. Again, that was a really good question. Dua. Thank you.
Dua.
All right. So we're still on time. Yeah. So we're going to move into the guided meditation. And so I'm going to mute the phone so that everyone has peace and quiet. lift, release, release. And Alexa, I see that you're on the phone. I think the way to do this is you have to have a phone and a computer. There's supposed to be an icon with a telephone receiver, and you're supposed to be able to click on that and be able to hear and see. So maybe sometime during the week we can have a practice session so we can figure that out. Okay. So I invite you to get into a comfortable seated position, either on the floor in the lotus posture with your legs crossed, or in a chair with your feet firmly planted on the ground. Either case, be sure to keep your back straight. And if you're driving or listening to this while you're mowing the lawn, please do not close your eyes while we go into meditation. Just listen. So we're going to start by taking a few deep breaths together. I'd like you to inhale slow and deeply, allowing the abdominal area to fill with fresh sekhem, with fresh prana, with the life force energy. And keep expanding and filling yourself with prana, filling your lungs. And inhale all the way to the crown chakra, so you're almost like a balloon. And hold it for a moment. And exhale, completely pressing out all toxins, all negativity, all negative thoughts, and allow your abdominal area to collapse until it's almost touching the spine. And another deep breath in. Inhale all the way up to the crown. And exhale and release and let it go. Let it all go. Gently closing your eyes. I invite you to visualize yourself in your mind's eye, seated in a sacred place. Very sacred place by the ocean. You're at the beach somewhere, or you're at a resort or a retreat center. The energy is very pure. It's very high energy. It's right around sunset. And now you're becoming aware of the waves, the motion of the waves. The waves roll in, and the waves roll out. The waves roll in, the waves roll out. And you begin to see that your breathing has become syncopated with the flow of the ocean. The energy is coming into you. The energy is coming out of you. And with the next inhalation, you feel the energy from the ocean come into your system and rise up, 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 spirals up, removing toxins. And as you exhale, the energy comes down and goes out into the sea. Again, the ocean comes in, the waves come in, the energy goes up, spirals up, up, up as you inhale. And as you exhale, the energy spirals back out to the sea. Now just sit with that for a little while. Feel your connection to the ocean, to the sekhem of the mother. The energy of the ocean turns into light energy in you. Now I invite you, with your mind's eye, to pull out of your bag a mirror. And you can gently open your eyes and look at the screen and see that it's an old antique mirror in the shape of an ox. It's an Ankh mirror that you have in your bed. Now you have this mirror in your hand. And you're inhaling the ocean of the divine, the energy from the ocean, and you're exhaling the energy back with a circular motion. And you take a look at the mirror. And when you look in the mirror, you see yourself. Just smiling peacefully, just looking at the reflection of yourself. And then on your next exhalation, you see that the image has changed. You see the image of the divine goddess. You see the image of Hetaru, seated on her throne, holding an ankh in one hand and the scepter in another. And in this reflection, you see all of her strength and beauty and life force energy and all of her strength to control her lower nature. And on the next inhalation, you see yourself as the goddess Hetaru in the mirror. You see yourself seated on your inner throne, holding the ankh in one hand and the scepter of truth in the other hand. Inhale slow and deep and reflect on the Nupu Hetaru, I am Hetaru. And on your next exhalation, you see yourself in the mirror again. Your beautiful self, ready to serve the divine. And on your next exhalation, when you look into the mirror of the goddess, you see the goddess Sekhmet, the warrior goddess, the lioness, with her knife in one hand and her spear in the other. Or a knife in one hand and a shield in another hand. With the knife, you cut away the toxic ties, the toxic relations, things that no longer serve you, things that cause you danger. You fight them off. You keep them at bay. You keep them out of your space. The goddess Sekhmet is the warrior goddess. And on our next inhalation, you see yourself as the goddess Sekhmet. You see yourself cutting off ties of past relations that no longer serve you, cutting away the ties that bind, cutting away any vows or any words spoken about you, spoken against you, cutting away any situations that are bringing you into danger. You see yourself as the goddess Sekhmet. And on the next exhalation, you see yourself in the mirror, ready to take on the next challenge that comes your way with courage and no fear. And on your next exhalation, in the mirror, you see the goddess Aset, standing with the goddess Shasheta, ready to share their wisdom with the world, ready to write down all their teachings and share with the next generation. Your mission is to teach and to heal and to share. You see the goddess Aset traveling around the world sharing her wisdom. You see the goddess Shasheta building libraries and universities and schools and developing healing systems, traveling all over the world. And on your next exhalation, you see yourself as the goddess Aset. You see yourself as the goddess Shasheta. Teaching, writing, sharing, traveling, working, ascending. Nupu Aset, Nupu Shasheta. And now you take your beautiful Ankh mirror, put it back in your bag, in your mind's eye. The sun has gone down and now the stars are out. And it's time for you to return home. Turn to normal breathing. And in your mind's eye, as you slowly begin to rise, you slowly open your eyes and find yourself back on this call, looking at this picture of the beautiful sacred Ankh mirror. Getting closer to the divine, closer to yourself. Awakening these cosmic forces of the goddess within us and in our lives. Om Hatep, 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 Hatep. Peace, 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 peace. Remain in this sacred space for as long as you can, as long as you like. And thank you for joining me today. Look forward to being with you again next week for Sankofa step number 2. Attack.